line is cat.
Shout out to Hip Hop Daily and most importantly, Morrison. Shout out to y'all for tapping in. This video is the story of Maxx from NLMB, G Herbo's homie. We ain't gonna talk too much, so without further ado, we're gonna get straight into the video.
This is one of G Herbo's closest homies, and a rapper often shouts him out in songs. But he was also one of No Limit's most distracted shooters and had a wild reputation in the streets before he got killed in 2018. Let's take a closer look at the story of Maxx. All the info in this video is alleged. RIP to those who lost their lives. Maxx, also known as C Money or Killer Chris, grew up on the east side of Chicago. He was mainly raised by his mom after his pops was murdered when he was 12 years old. So growing up, Maxx quickly adapted to his environment. Maxx was from No Limit, a set of renegade Black P Stones who merged with the Muskegon Boys, a renegade set of the GDs, to form NLMB. He also had multiple brothers, uncles, and cousins who was well-respected members of NLMB. Some say he was related to two well-known No Limit members named Mally and G Manksky, but it's unconfirmed if they was actually blood brothers or just grew up together. Either way, they all came up together with G Herbo and Lil Bibby, who are the two most famous rappers from the game. Since they're made up of renegade sets, NLMB are known to beef with almost everyone on the east side, but they also a large gang with more structure than some of the other sets in Chicago. They seem to have more OGs around to guide the younger generation, which has helped the gang survive, even though they have so many enemies. The main sets that No Limit beefs with that's relevant to this story are Lakeside, KTS, and Black Mob. Black Mob are mainly Black P Stones, and Lakeside are mainly GDs, but they're both allied and beef with NLMB. KTS is an alliance between a bunch of different sets, including members of Lakeside and Black Mob, with well-known members like KTS Dre and Von. Maxx was one of NLMB's most active members, and also one of KTS's most hated ops. He was put on by his uncles and other older dudes in his hood on how to move in the streets. But like many kids who was respected in Chicago that ain't have another hustle like rap, Maxx eventually got out of control, and it led to his own death. At the time Maxx was coming up, No Limit was locked in a heated war with Black Mob. Early on, the two gangs was cool with each other, but a dispute over territory eventually led them to beefing. In 2009, a dude from No Limit named Vito was trapping in Black Mob's territory without checking in or paying tax. So, a member of Black Mob violated Vito for not showing the proper respect. The leader of No Limit at the time told Vito to get payback on the dude who violated him. So, Vito ended up shooting at the dude in front of his family, which was a major violation of their laws. This led to a dispute between No Limit and Black Mob, which resulted in Vito getting shot. Vito's death set off a wave of retaliation shootings that created beef between the two gangs. At some point during this beef, a member of Black Mob in Lakeside named Dio was murdered while walking down the sidewalk.
Is it true? I was watching what's his name, No Limit Cairo interview with DJ U yesterday, and they were saying that people praise Maxx, but he snitched
in the 8100 block of South Manistee Avenue. It's not clear who murdered Dio, but it's been rumored that Maxx was involved. This would be the first in a long series of murders that Maxx allegedly committed. In 2010, Maxx was locked up for an alleged shooting, but there ain't much info because he was still a minor at the time. Not long after that, he was back on the streets and looking for revenge. Over the next few years, Maxx lost several of his OGs from No Limit, including his blood uncle. In November 2011, White Folks, one of the leaders of No Limit, passed away. He died after being shot by members from Lakeside in 2006. A lot of NLMB members looked up to White Folks, including Maxx, so his death was a major loss to the gang. A few months later, there was an assassination attempt on a group of No Limit members that left 2 dead and several others injured. They was all standing on the corner outside of a liquor store on the 2500 block of East 79th Street when someone drove by and started busting shots with a Tech 9. 5 members of the group got hit and 2 ended up dying. NLMB Rock and Alamo sadly lost their lives, and 3 other members sustained serious injuries but survived. Rock was a beloved member of the gang who adopted the name Rock Block after he was killed. Alamo was actually an older member who was 57 and had 4 kids. Rock was no longer active in the streets and had just come down from dinner to chop it up with some of the younger dudes. It ain't clear who killed Rock and Alamo, but it was rumored to have been committed by members of KTS. Maxx and Rock was close homies, and his death really hit hard. So, after he was killed, Maxx vowed to get revenge on KTS. A few months later, in October 2012, 33-year-old Carlos Alexander, aka No Limit Big Los, was murdered in the 7900 block of South Escabana Avenue. He was walking outside of his crib around 10:30 a.m. when 2 dudes ran up and opened fire before fleeing on foot. Big Los wasn't just one of Maxx's OGs, but also his blood uncle. So his death really turned him into a savage, and he was out for revenge. Around 1 p.m. on November 10th, 2012, Anthony Bagsby, aka Bud from Lakeside, was walking down the 2600 block of East 79th Street when he was approached by 3 or 4 men and shot several times. He was rushed to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, but later pronounced dead. A memorial for Bud was held on a corner near where he was killed. Friends and loved ones admitted he was a known gang member, but also a mellow guy who just hung around the wrong crowd. No one was arrested for Bud's murder, but it was rumored to have been committed by members of NLMB, including Mad Maxx, who was out looking for ops after the murder of Rock and Alamo. Plus, it's been rumored that Bud was present for the murder of Big Los, Max's uncle. But Maxx ain't stopped there. He kept seeking revenge for all the people close to him that he lost. On April 4th, 2013, a Lakeside member named D'Angelo Simmons, aka Lolo, was walking down the street with another man not far from his home when two gunmen approached him and opened fire. Lolo was shot in the chest and rushed to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, where he was pronounced dead later that day. According to friends and family, Lolo was out shopping for a family trip and was walking home when he got shot. A family friend said he was a good kid who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Police never identified the man who was with Lolo when he was killed, but it's been rumored that it was another member of Lakeside named Mac Main. Mac Main was allegedly one of the dudes who was in the car that fired at members of NLMB the day Rock and Alamo were killed. No one was ever arrested for Lolo's murder, but according to rumors, it was Mad Maxx who shot Lolo while Mac Main ran away. G Herbo was supposedly with him when it happened and chased after Mac Main, shooting him in the leg. But this is an unconfirmed rumor because Mac Main never went to the hospital and was never identified by police as the person with Lolo when he was killed.
I was about to say, G Herbo used to be on that?
Both Bud and Lolo was respected members of Lakeside. Members of No Limit often use their deaths to mock their enemies, talking about smoking on Bud and Lolo in songs and on social media. This only turned up the war.
Yeah, I remember EBK juvie before he went to jail and Pistol Gang songs.
Between Lakeside and NLMB. But the summer of 2013 was also a wild time in the war between No Limit and Black Mob. Around that time, No Limit lost two members, Simo and Tracy, but they was quick to get their revenge. In June 2013, 24-year-old Jordan Jefferson, a member of Black Mob, was shot in the head in the 2400 block of East 75th Street. He was pronounced dead on the scene by the Cook County Medical Examiner. A pastor at a local church, Reverend Isaac Whitman, said that Jordan was helping him earlier that day, carrying supplies into his office. He attended service afterward, but said that he wasn't certain about joining the church. Jefferson and Whitman's son then walked to a corner store. The pastor heard 3 shots, then looked up and saw Jordan laying on the ground. Allegedly, it was Mad Maxx and a group of other dudes from NLMB who saw Jordan and ran up on him, shooting him 3 times. So, Maxx was just racking up bodies, and that was allegedly his 3rd murder in less than a year. On August 10, 2013, NLMB took a major L after losing a respected member named Kobe. Jacoby Heron, aka Kobe, was shot and killed outside of a McDonald's in the 2400 block of South Oglesby Avenue. Kobe was close to G Herbo, who talks about him in interviews.
Is that the same McDonald's where that incident happened in No Limit Cairo or no?
And even named a mixtape after him called Ballin' Like I'm Kobe. Just before he was killed, Kobe was chilling with Herb and some other NLMB members on the block shooting dice, but suddenly decided he wanted to go home. They offered him a ride, but he said he'd rather walk. But just a few minutes after he left, they heard gunshots and ran down the block to find Kobe dead on the street. No one was ever arrested for the murder, but it's rumored it was KTS Vaughn and another dude named Pasto. Kobe was a well-loved member of NLMB, so his death was a major...
That's the dude that G Herbo always be mentioning. Pasto!
Loss to the gang and only increased attention. After that, they was on the hunt for Vaughn and Pasto. But before they can get to him, Maxx allegedly took out a member of Black Mob for the 2nd time that same year. Around 10 a.m. on August 13, 2013, a 34-year-old man named Eric Chisholm was killed by a shooter in a passing SUV on the 7400 block of South Colfax Avenue. Chisholm was standing with at least one other person when a light-colored SUV drove by and let off shots. He was rushed to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. Cops later identified Eric as a known gang member from Black Mob, but according to one witness who knew him from the neighborhood, Eric wasn't an active member and just had a baby. So, it's not clear whether or not he was affiliated or just an innocent bystander. No one was arrested for Eric's murder, but it's rumored that Mad Maxx may have been involved. NLMB was still out for revenge over the death of Kobe. By the end of the year, they got what they was after by taking out one of his alleged killers, Pasto. On November 23rd, 2013, Tyshawn Pasto Anderson was shot in the head in the 2700 block of East 80th Street, just around the corner from where he lived. Pasto was standing in the hallway when someone started shooting. He was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, but pronounced dead around 11:50 p.m. Police said Pasto was a documented gang member. A family member said he was a typical teenager who liked playing video games and messing around with electronics. He was struggling in school and was looking into alternative education programs. But they admitted he had problems with gangs at school in the past and just got out of jail 5 days before he died. No one was ever arrested for Pasto's murder. but it's rumored that it was Crazy
I see
James
Pasta.
and Mad Max from
I never seen a
NLMB
picture.
who was out for revenge after the death of Kobe. Pasta was a well-loved member of KTS. After that, members of No Limit would diss Pasta on raps and on social media to get at their ops, which added even more fuel to the beef. Over the next year, Mad Max got arrested several times, which slowed down his activities in the streets. On July 21st, he was arrested for reckless conduct. Then, on October 17th, he got arrested for not wearing a seatbelt and driving without a license. He'd quickly be released for that crime, only to get arrested for disorderly conduct a week later. So Maxx was caught up most of that year and wasn't as active in the streets. On June 23rd, 2015, KTS Vaughn, one of NLMB's main ops, was shot and killed. No one knows exactly who killed him, but there's multiple theories. Vaughn was walking by himself in the 7500 block of South Ellis Avenue when passengers in an SUV spotted him and hopped out and shot him multiple times in the body, then in the head. According to rumors, he was high off Xanax at the time of his death and wasn't aware of his surroundings. The 21-year-old was pronounced dead at the scene when police arrived. Vaughn was one of KTS's most active members and had enemies in several rival gangs. No one really knows who caught Vaughn lacking that night, but one theory is that it was members of NLMB, including Mad Max. KTS Vaughn often referred to himself as Big Cutthroat the Smoker. Right after Vaughn was killed, Mad Max started calling himself the Smoker
It seemed like Mad Max was doing most of the slaughter.
on IG, which made many believe he was taking credit for the hit. But this might have been just another way to get at his ops. In 2016, Mad Max started going through more legal problems and got arrested multiple times for things like weapons possession. But all that changed the following year, and by 2017, Maxx was back at it. On July 10th, 2017, Black Mob lost one of his top shooters and most famous rappers, Shooter Shells. About 3 months before his death, Shooter Shells dropped a savage diss track called Death of 150, where he took shots at several dead members from No Limit, including dudes like Rock, Kobe, and Fazo, who G Herbo's rapped about many times.
Sorry to keep pausing. I'm really sorry to keep pausing. But yo, they did him crazy. I'm not even gonna lie at all.
In his own music. On top of that, Shooter Shells was also a shooter and claimed to have several bodies at the time of his death.
Damn.
So, after he dropped Death of 150, he became No Limit's main target. Shooter Shells was walking to his car in the Auburn Gresham neighborhood when 3 men ran up and shot him multiple times in the head and body. According to police, he was shot approximately 15 to 18 times until he was unrecognizable, and they recovered as many as 43 shells at the scene. Just 2 months before his death, the FBI opened an investigation into the violence between Black Mob and No Limit. After an investigation into the murder, they determined that it was likely connected to the beef and the diss track Shooter Shells dropped just months before his death. No one was ever arrested, but it's been rumored that Mad Max was one of the men involved. Years after his death, a police report identified Maxx as one of the primary suspects in the murder. But before the police could catch up to him, the streets got him first. On August 3rd, 2018, Maxx was moving into a building in the 7600 block of South Kingston Avenue. While outside, he allegedly spotted an op from Lakeside and quickly ran toward the building to escape. But he didn't get away and was chased down and shot twice, once in the stomach and once in the arm. Maxx was found slumped over in the courtyard and rushed to the hospital in critical condition. At first, it seemed like Maxx was gonna pull through. Doctors kept him alive for an entire month after he was shot, but he later died from his injuries on September 3rd, 2018. A few days after the murder, police arrested a member of Lakeside named Terrell Webb, aka Hell Rel. A witness came forward and identified him as the shooter, and when they arrested him, police found a weapon on him. But there's also been rumors that Maxx allegedly snitched on his deathbed. While he was in the hospital, slowly dying from his injuries, police came to his room and questioned him about the shooting. Supposedly, they convinced Maxx to provide a videotape statement identifying Hell Rel as the killer. This tape was never used in court, and Hell Rel was later released due to lack of evidence. But the rumor that he snitched put dirt on Maxx's name. Many of his ops claim he put in all that work in the streets, only to have it all mean nothing because he snitched. Whether or not Maxx actually snitched has never been proven, but members of No Limit still honor him and give him his respect as one of their most active members. Like many dudes who got respect in the streets, Mad Maxx ain't knowing to hang it up. If he hadn't got killed, he probably would have just kept going until the feds caught up with him. But in the end, he made himself too much of a target, and it was only a matter of time before all the dirt he did came back around to him.
Man, rest in peace to everybody from this video. Honestly, it's crazy with the Chicago drill movement. But y'all get in the comment section down below. Let me know what y'all think. With that being said, I appreciate y'all for all the love and support. Love is love, and I'm gonna catch y'all in the next video.